Hello Algebra, this is Mrs. Crayer. I decided to make a little video using my phone and having the calculator here to go over some of the misconceptions that I'm seeing, or maybe just some of the things we're not getting after grading the weekly check-in. So I picked a different problem. This is what your weekly check-in looked like, okay? I just picked a different problem to do, and I just made this one up. Y equals negative x squared plus 4x plus 5. This is a parabola. How do I know that? Because all quadratics are parabolas, and I know it's a quadratic because it has a 2 for the highest exponent. So when they say graph it, we have to have a table. We have to have a table. So we're going to use the calculator to do that. What's going to help guide us is this guy, x equals negative b over 2a, because I could just put random points in here and it's not going to look like a parabola when I graph it. It might look like a line or like some weird sort of curve. I want to make sure I'm getting the curve of the parabola. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to make sure that I have the axis of symmetry right in the middle of my table. Just to recap, a equals negative 1, b equals 4, and c equals 5. So when I go to find this axis of symmetry, it's negative b, so negative 4 on the top, and then on the bottom it's 2 times a. So I'm looking at a negative divided by a negative, so I'm going to have a positive, and this is going to be 2. So that tells me that the middle of my parabola gets cut in half at 2, x equals 2. Now, you go to the calculator, you turn it on, you type it into y equals. So I already have it typed in. Now I'm going to second graph. That's going to bring me to the table, and I already found the middle. But you would scroll until 2 is in the middle of your screen. Now look at this. This is symmetric. I see 0, 0, 5, 5, 8, 8, 9. Perfect. So now I'm making my table negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those go in there. And then in the y value, I'm just copying down exactly what I see. And again, we should see that symmetry in the table. Note, I didn't have graph paper, so I just made myself little x and y axes. I labeled them and I counted off like 10 little marks in each direction. So negative 1, 0, that's where we're starting. I'm plotting that point. 0, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's not going to be perfect. I'm doing this one-handed, first of all, because I'm holding my phone in the other hand. And second of all, I'm just not the best 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at drawing in general. But hey, there we go. This is not bad. Now, I don't have a second hand to hold the paper. The only thing I don't like about the way I just drew that was the fact that this was a little straight. Like this should be curved, okay? But when you have two hands, one hand to hold the paper, that should look a little bit better. But this is not bad, considering I had one hand and no graph paper. I'm not surprised it's facing down because I created one with a negative right there. As soon as I know there's a negative there, I know this is a facing down parabola. So when you are asked to graph a parabola on any test, quiz, exam, anywhere, geometry, algebra 2, whatever, you have to have a table for a parabola, okay? And the center of your table should have the turning point, which leads me to my next thing. A vertex is the same thing as the turning point, which means the answer needs to be a whole point, not just a number, okay? That point where it changes from going up to going down or going down to going up, that is the vertex. When you're stating your roots, I'm getting a lot of people putting the factors here instead of the roots. The roots are actual x numbers, x equals. So you can see me write them out twice. I might write x equals and write them both in a set. But the roots are x equals the number negative 1 and the number 5. That's where they're hitting the x-axis. The roots or the zeros are these guys. Domain. All parabolas that face up and down have a domain of all real numbers, aka negative infinity to infinity. Now the range is going to be either negative infinity to a number, and you're going to include that number, or this is just going to be backwards. It'll be a number to positive infinity because this one's facing down. Remember, it's bottom to top. The lowest this thing goes is negative infinity. What's the highest it goes? 9. And that 9 is included, so we need a bracket here. That's one thing a lot of people miss. Okay, now I didn't make up a new problem. I'm just going to pretend like I don't know the equation, and I'm going to work backwards using my graph. Okay, so here's my graph. I'm working backwards. What are the zeros? Again, the zeros are the same thing as the roots. They're x equals -1. X equals 5. Equation. I'll change to a color here just to kind of make this pop. Equation. Not the prettiest color. Needs to have a y equals. And now I'm going to write the factors. When it says to write the equation in factored form, I'm going to write the factors. So an x equals -1 as a factor would be an x plus 1. And x equals +5 as a factor would be an x minus 5. Now, some of you may have gotten a note that said, hey, you need a negative in front of this one. I need a negative in front of this one because I'm looking at the picture and it's upside down. So that tells me I need a negative. You can put a -1 if you want to see the 1. Just a negative would be fine as well. I would prefer for you to write it in front as opposed to after, because then it kind of looks like subtraction and you don't want that. That is the equation in factored form. How do I get that equation in standard form? Well, I take my factors and I multiply them out. So I've got an x plus 1, I've got an x minus 5, combine like terms, and I'm looking at, still have this negative out there, -1, I'm not going to do anything with that yet. I'm looking at, oh, this is so sparkly, it's hard to see. X squared minus 4x minus 5. The last thing I'm going to do is distribute that -1 through. And I'm looking at -x squared plus 4x plus 5. This is the equation in standard form. This is the equation in factored form. But you need that negative because of this, the fact that it was upside down. Hang on one second. Last thing, if it asks you for the axis of symmetry, that is always a vertical line. It is always x equals. And it's whatever number is right here. We ended up finding that earlier because we used it to graph. So it's x equals 2 is our axis of symmetry. Let's be real clear. Vertex and turning point, that's a point. Axis of symmetry, that's a line, a box. Okay, hopefully this clears up a little bit from that first check-in. And again, if you have questions, just post them in Google Classrooms. All right, bye.